Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over the trades we end up taking today, as well as the game plan going into tomorrow. So, if you guys remember from yesterday, I said we're most likely going to get a bounce, and I favor us going higher, and we're probably going to get that move overnight, because if we look here on the 5-minute, this is where we end up pulling back into the close on you're not on, but tomorrow we end up pulling back, and this bottom fib level, the 123.6 fib, and I told you guys this is a very high probability of getting the bounce, because we did hit major resistance on the put side. If we pull up this put chart, this is what we had on the 4-hour chart. We hit massive resistance. This 4-hour 50, told you guys when it sloped down like this, it ends the trend like 80-90% of the time. We got the rejection off the 4-hour, and we got a massive bounce today on ES. You can see again when we look on this 5-minute chart, we hit this fib level here right at futures open. If this is actually showing the extended hours are off, so if I could turn it back on, but last night futures ended up opening green, pulling back to 68.29. This ended up marking the bottom before they just went full force into the upper fib here at 6,900 and 68.66. So if you wanted to try a short today, the 6,900 level would have been the level to take a trade at. You would have almost gotten stopped on this trade. If you at the 6,900 level, we end up going up to 69.08. That did not hit the 10-point stop, so this trade actually ended up playing out. Stop loss almost gets hit. That's why you always rock 10 points from that level. So really 69.11, I'd probably go for my stop on this. We're just round up to the nearest dollar from 69.67 or 6,967 cents. So round that up to 69.11, never get stopped, and look at that move. You get from this fib to this fib level, very nice move out of that, and then we end up actually breaking below this fib and then retesting it. So if you look on the 30-minute, we actually broke below that fib again, and it retested, and it did give a solid move. I mean, if you look here, if you look back when we retested the fib right here, this immediately gave a big move, 66 all the way up to 43. At that point, near break even, I mean, that's over 20 points on that. That's 23 points. I 100% would not be holding this for a loser at that point. You could put like a 5-point stop if you want, go break even, but definitely wouldn't be putting my full risk on the table at that point after being up 20+ points in profit. That's already a 1-2 risk to reward on that trade. So definitely would be taking some trims down there. He probably would get stopped even on the rest. And then obviously we had news come out, and we ended up ramping higher, and that ended up making us lose the trend. So that pretty much was the trend ender. I mean, it makes sense we end up losing it today. If we pull up the put chart, you can see what happened. We end up crossing negative here on the 30-minute on the put side, and that's pretty much what happened today. So what did we end up taking? I actually took a long. Very simple. We just played a 0 DT cross here on the calls, and this is what we got. Very simple. I played this cross right up in here at what time did I go long at? Let me pull up the Discord here, but yeah, we caught like 65-70 points just about on this trade. Went long at 10:30, right at the 10:30 open, we went long, and yeah, it's hard to see on this candle, but that's where the 50 ended up leveling out at. This is one of those trades where you gotta wait for the 50 to curl. I actually have the screenshots of what it looked like when we ended up getting the curl, because it was initially down for the first 5-6 candles there, or however many it is after we crossed, but I know I have the screenshot of exactly when it ended up curling, I believe. Yeah, so this is the last screenshot I have before it ended up curling up. So if we pull up this 681 call chart, 10:25, this is the 5-minute candle before we entered. You can see 50 still down. You could it's some people would think it's curling up. It's not. Still down slightly. It's on an open of a new candle too. So this candle ended up turning down at all from here. This is gonna push the 50 down. So right here, 50 was still down. The next the 10:30 open right there ended up curling, and we got it. So yeah, that's where the entry was. I'm pretty sure I have the entry. Okay, maybe I don't have the entry of when I entered this, but yeah, see, I don't have the exact entry of when we got the entry, but this was like 6 minutes after I entered, and you can see we got a nice move out of it. And yeah, the 50 curled at the 10:30 open, and that's when I entered. And yeah, I pretty much sold everything when we hit the next fib level. So if we pull up ES here at 10:30, obviously this is when we entered. So if we pull up ES now, this is where I use my take profit. So 10:30 we entered, and let's see, 10:30 was right here on ES. I took NQ, but it doesn't really matter which one you take. right at the open. I mean, we could probably see this a little bit clearer. If we go to like the 1 minute, you can see where we got our entry at earlier in the day here. So 10:30, right at the open, you can see this is where I entered at, and yeah, we got an immediate move all the way up to the fib level, and that's where I sold everything because that's the next fib level. Next possible rejection point, it went a little bit higher, like 8 points above, so you know, you could have held on to it a little bit longer, but I just sold all at that fib. That was my target on the trade, and yeah, we kind of like 65 points. It was a really good move, and that was the banger for the day. I did try a long, and this was a mistake by me. 100% should not have taken this trade. And yeah, so I ended up trying this 68.66 long right here when we pulled into that fib level, and you know, I was not paying attention to the 0 DT charts or the 30-minute chart, and I literally picked up my phone and I saw that we were right at the fib, so I went over on my PC, went long, alerted it, and then I pulled up the option charts real quick. I just wanted to get in, and then I saw that the puts were actually crossing negative, or the calls were actually crossing negative, and then also the 30-minute chart still hadn't crossed negative, so you know, we were still technically in a bearish trend. We didn't fully cross neutral, so there was still a chance we do rip back up on the 30-minute and hold this trend here. So if we pull up the 0 DT chart on the calls, you can see right here, we were crossing negative right there while we're at that fib, and I'm like, you know, this is not a trade I should be taking. Crossing negative on the puts, we're still you know, not fully neutral on the put side, and we're still in that like shorting the rip mode. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get out, and I closed it for probably around like 6 points. I know it was a quick like move when I gave it out, so you know, you probably would have taken a bigger loss than that, and that's on me. But yeah, that was a mistake trade. I shouldn't have even taken that trade. It was just kind of, I just saw it on the fib, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take this trade, and yeah, I took a small loss on it. But yeah, that's pretty much what we did today. Going into tomorrow, this is what we currently have. So this is what we currently have. So pull up to 30 minutes. What do we look like? We're neutral at the moment. You can see 10 estimates below the 50 on the puts, 10 estimate below the 50, neutral on the puts. Pull up the calls, 10 below the 50 on the calls, we're neutral. And when it comes to the fib levels, this is what we have to look for. So right now, since we cross negative on that 30-minute chart, this is where you have to pay attention to change the fibs. So we don't change them yet. What you have to wait for is, where do we actually cross negative on that 30-minute chart? When does it happen? Where are we on the fib? So when we got that negative cross, we're in between 78.6, 61.8. This is our range that we're going to be in going into tomorrow. The 69, so 69.27, 6900, and all you have to do is wait for a break of the range. So if we break to the upside, that's when we change the fibs, and if we break to the downside, you don't change the fibs. So when I mean change the fibs, we end up taking this 100% mark. This is the bottom of the range, the 0% is the top. So what trend did we just have? We had the bear trend. So the lower pivot gets changed when we break to the upside, because that is the last swing low is what we put in for the new pivot. So this 100% mark would get dragged down to 68.22. That'd be your new low pivot, because that's the last swing low we had on the premium before we ended up crossing negative. So it's the last swing low right here, our last like high made on the premium before we actually crossed down. So that low is going to be that 100% mark. So you drag the 100% to that mark, and that's your new set of fibs, whatever they come to be. So yeah, by a break of the range, we need a 30-minute candle close above either 69.27 or below 6900, and it has to go at least like over 10 points. The close doesn't have to be over 10 points, but price has to move at least like 10 points for us to consider it a break of the level. So again, we break above 69.27, close above on the 30-minute, it moves at least 10 points above that level. Then we change the fibs. If we get a break to the downside at 6900 and we close below it on the 30-minute, we go at least 10 points below that 6900 level, you don't change the fibs, because we're still we still have this like bearish trend going. Like this, the fibs are a little bit different when it comes to their premium, because this whole time we've been shorting the rips pretty much, except for like this bottom level. But you don't change it when we break back down the downside, because it doesn't make sense to. We already, this is the initial range we have for the downside, the bearish trend. If we break back below this fib, you don't change the levels. Hopefully that makes sense, but that's how you go about, you know, the levels for tomorrow and what I'm going to be looking for. So, you know, if we do break to the upside, then we're going to be looking for pretty much a break and retest of 69.27. So if we get a nice candle close above that 69.27, okay, look for a pullback to it to long, or you could go up to, you know, 69.64, possibly get a short off of there. But if we do break to the upside, I'm more so focused on buying the dips at the fib instead of shorting. Like once we get to these upper fibs, sure, you can take the shorts, but when we break to the upside, you want to be taking those long. The longs are going to be favored pretty much. So that's how you go about trading the fibs. And also, if we get some sort of 0 DT cross tomorrow, I'll obviously be open to taking that or average up if I'm in a trade. So yeah, that's pretty much the game plan going into tomorrow. If you guys enjoy, drop a sub. If you guys want to learn, join Discord down below. That's where I'm at all day, every day. Place if you want to learn. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm out. Peace.